Snowboarding hit the ski industry like an avalanche in the mid-1990s, but boarders have been surfing on snow for more than 30 years. And just as skiing has its roots in the Sierra, so does snowboarding.
If this isn't the original snowboard, it's certainly one of the originals, the snurfer.
But before there was snowboarding, there was snurfing. You can see where this idea came from. Surfers decided to trade waves for snow and thought it might be a good idea to hang on to something, in this case a rope. Western Ski Sport Museum director Bill Clark remembers when he first saw a snurfer.
First time I remember snowboarding is working in the ski industry at a trade show at Mammoth, demoing skis, and the guy up on the hill, we all kind of looked up, and the guy had this contraption that he stood on, and he had the rope, I think it was probably a snurfer, skiing down through the powder, and that's the first time I ever encountered it.
Tom Sims is arguably the first person to ride a snowboard back in 1963, although Jake Burton would have something to say about that. You might recognize both names from their snowboard companies, two of the world's biggest. Sims in particular tested his boards in the Lake Tahoe area, and his top hands-on researcher was a kid who grew up skateboarding in the Bay Area.
Moved up here in about '77 and pretty much started snowboarding right about then. We were just using bungee straps to keep our feet in, so when you really took a good fall, you pretty much just blew out of your board. I was one of the first ones to progress skateboard-style tricks into snowboarding. I'm not saying I was the first, but first one to get recognized for it anyways.
Terry Kidwell is known as the father of freestyle snowboarding, winning 3 world championships. Freestyle is all those flips and tricks you see boarders doing in the half pipe, that trench in the snow that gives them something to jump off. You're watching some of the first snowboard film ever taken. That's Terry and his friends, who were called the Tahoe Underground, and they broke the trail for snowboarding. Kidwell is also one of the first people to make a living riding a snowboard. In 1985, he signed a contract with Sims Snowboards, the first rider to have a pro model. Today, Kidwell has his own snowboard company. But before all the fame, there were the early days.
Mount Rose was popular. No, they all went up there because no one would sell them a lift ticket.
Oh gosh, it was super tough, and I believe Boreal and like Donner Ski Ranch were a couple of the first. I remember going to Boreal as my first place to not have to hike, get a chairlift ride up and get to cruise down without all the struggle of hiking up the hill.
Snowboarding came along and I just looked at it, hey, it's just another person that wants to ride the chairlift. And they came along and we were big. We were big in snowboarding. We've done some things. The other night I was watching television and here was a guy doing a triple twisting quad jump, and they're saying it's the first time ever. Well, we did that way back with a guy, Dick Barrymore, a filmer, and we did that back, I think it's almost 20 years ago that we did that, and they're saying it was the first time ever.
Norm Saylor saw snowboarders for what they were, the future of the ski industry. But most resort operators didn't share his foresight back in the early and mid-'80s, so most of the first snowboarders ended up hiking and climbing for their rides, much like the first Sierra skiers 50 years before. In 1983, the world's first snowboarding championships were held at Soda Springs, featuring the first ever halfpipe competition.
Once I got hooked on it and had some of my first runs where I was like, wow, this is really cool, that I thought it would take off and blow up. And that was, you know, like 13, 14 years ago. And to me, maybe, it actually took longer than I thought.